You feel it, don't you? That gnawing sensation that you're living in a world that wasn't built for you. Like everyone else received a manual for life, and yours got lost in the mail. You watch conversations unfold, like scripted performances, seeing the desperation behind every laugh, the fear masked as confidence, the profound loneliness disguised as social success. And the worst part, you've started believing there's something fundamentally wrong with you. There isn't. What if I told you that Carl Jung identified something in people like you, something so rare that most will live their entire lives without meeting someone who carries it? A type of consciousness so profound that it threatens the very foundation of how others live. You're about to discover why your difference isn't a flaw, it's a frequency. And once you understand what you're really dealing with, everything, your exhaustion, your isolation, your inability to tolerate superficiality, will finally make sense. But before we dive into the first sign, I need you to understand something. What you're about to hear might shake you, because once you see these patterns, you can't unsee them. Once you understand what makes you rare, you can't go back to pretending you're ordinary. Are you ready for that kind of truth? Jung called it dangerous perception. And if you have it, you already know why. You don't just see people, you see through them. Their words say one thing, but their micro-expressions scream another. Their stories paint success, but their energy radiates desperation. You pick up what they're not saying louder than what they are. This is the first sign. You process reality at a depth that would break most people. Think about your last conversation. While they talked about their promotion, you saw the soul-crushing compromise they made to get it. While they bragged about their relationship, you felt the loneliness they're drowning in. You didn't ask for this ability. You can't turn it off, and it's slowly destroying you. Because here's what Jung understood. When you see this much, this clearly, you become a walking mirror. And mirrors? They terrify people who've spent their lives avoiding their own reflection. You know that tension that fills the room when you're present. That's not your imagination. That's their unconscious recognizing that you see their shadow, the parts they've buried so deep they've convinced themselves don't exist. Your very presence asks a question they're not ready to answer. Why are you still pretending? And rather than face that question, they make you the problem. You're too intense. You overthink everything. Can't you just be normal? But you can't be normal. Because normal means accepting the surface as reality. Normal means participating in collective delusion. Normal means betraying the very gift that makes you who you are. This dangerous perception of yours, it's actually revealing something even deeper about your nature. Something that explains why superficial connections feel like starvation to your soul. And that brings us to the second sign, which might be the most painful of all. You're allergic to superficiality. Small talk feels like psychological torture. Casual friendships leave you lonelier than solitude. You need conversations that bypass the weather and dive straight into the soul. You crave connections where masks aren't just optional, they're impossible. Jung saw this clearly. He said rare personality types live in constant existential tension. You can't fully participate in collective unconsciousness, but you can't escape it either. You're trapped between worlds, too awake to sleep, too human to transcend. But here's the shadow side nobody discusses. This depth you carry, it's also what isolates you. Because while you're starving for real connection, Most people are perfectly content with emotional fast food. They want comfort, not truth. They want validation, not growth. They want to stay safely unconscious. And when you can't, won't, give them that, they experience you as a threat. Think about how many relationships you've lost, not because you did something wrong, but because you couldn't pretend anymore, couldn't laugh at empty jokes, couldn't engage in gossip, couldn't discuss the weather when your soul was screaming to discuss why we're even here. This isn't pretentiousness. This is survival. Because for someone with your type of consciousness, superficial interaction doesn't just bore you. It literally drains your life force. You've probably noticed something else too. Something that happens when you're around others that you can't quite explain. An exhaustion that goes beyond social fatigue. A feeling like you're carrying weights that aren't yours. That's because you are. And this third sign is where Jung's insights become almost supernatural. Now we enter darker territory. The third sign. You absorb everything. Not just thoughts or observations. Everything. Other people's unexpressed rage, their repressed grief, their denied desires. You're not just an observer. You're an emotional alchemist, unconsciously transmuting the psychological debris of everyone around you. Jung called this participation mystique, where individual boundaries dissolve and you merge with the collective unconscious. For most, this happens rarely. For you, it's constant. That depression that hits from nowhere, often not yours. That anxiety gripping your chest. You might have absorbed it from the colleague who sat next to you. That inexplicable rage could be the unexpressed fury of everyone you encountered today. This is why you need so much alone time. Not because you're antisocial, but because you need to sort through what's yours and what isn't. You need silence to hear your own thoughts again. Solitude to remember who you are beneath the psychic noise. But here's the brutal truth. This absorption can become addictive. Because when you're drowning in others' emotions, you don't have to face your own emptiness. When you're solving everyone's problems, you avoid confronting yours. When you're the counselor, the healer, the one everyone comes to, you get to bypass your own inner work. Until one day you wake up and realize you know everyone else's soul intimately, but your own is a stranger. And that's when the real battle begins. Not with the outside world, but with yourself. Because having this rare personality type means living with a split that tears you apart daily. If you're recognizing yourself in these signs, make sure you subscribe to this channel, because what we're uncovering here is just the beginning. Click that subscribe button now. We're going to need each other for what comes next. The fourth sign cuts deepest. You're fighting an invisible war between who you are and who the world needs you to be. Jung understood that people like you live with a fundamental split. Your true self is too intense for everyday consumption, so you fragment. Professional you, social you, family you. All carefully calibrated performances, all exhausting, none of them real. Every mask you wear is a small betrayal. Every time you dial down your intensity, you abandon your nature. Every moment you pretend to be normal, you feed the lie that who you really are is unacceptable. This split creates symptoms doctors can't explain. Chronic fatigue that no amount of sleep fixes. Your soul exhausted from constant performance. Anxiety that appears from nowhere. Your authentic self screaming to be released. depression that descends like fog, the grief of living as a stranger to yourself. You're not mentally ill, you're spiritually suffocating. Because here's what Jung knew: the very thing you're hiding, your intensity, your depth, your rare way of seeing, is exactly what the world desperately needs. Every breakthrough in human consciousness came from someone who couldn't see things the normal way. Every revolution began in the mind of someone too sensitive to accept the status quo. That's you. That's your role. But you can't fulfill it while you're split in pieces. The exhaustion of maintaining these fragments, these false selves, it's unsustainable. Your body knows it. Your soul knows it. And deep down, you know it too. But there's something else happening, something almost mystical. Because while you're fragmenting yourself to fit in, your true frequency is sending out a signal, and there are others who can hear it. This next sign is where Jung's work ventures into territory that science still can't fully explain. This brings us to perhaps the most mysterious sign. You recognize your own kind instantly. It's not logical. You meet someone, anywhere, anytime, and within seconds, there's a frequency match, a soul recognition, a feeling of, oh, there you are. I've been looking for you. Jung called this synchronicity, but it goes deeper. It's like having a secret antenna that only picks up certain signals. When you encounter someone operating at your wavelength, your whole system lights up. Time warps. Masks drop without effort. You find yourself sharing things you've never told anyone, and they're nodding like they've been waiting their whole life to hear exactly that. These connections are rare. Maybe you've had one or two in your lifetime. Maybe you're still searching. But when they happen, they validate everything you've always felt but could never prove. You're not alone. You're not crazy. You're not too much. You're just rare. And rare recognizes rare. But here's the shadow. Once you've tasted true recognition, everything else feels like starvation. Once you've been genuinely seen, invisibility becomes agony. Your frequency can't settle for static anymore. This is why you might sabotage relationships that ask you to dim your light. Why you'd rather be alone than pretend. Why you can't go backwards once you've experienced authentic connection. Your soul has standards now, and those standards are directly connected to something even bigger, a purpose that's been burning inside you since before you could name it. But this purpose, it's not what you think. It's bigger, stranger, and more important than anything you've been told about finding your path. And if you're not subscribed yet, do it now, because understanding this next sign, it changes everything about how you see your life's trajectory. The sixth sign explains everything. You carry a purpose too big for one lifetime. Not a career, not goals, a purpose. Something that burns in your bones wakes you at 3 a.m. with downloads too vast for your mind to process. Something that feels less like a choice and more like a cosmic assignment. Jung understood this burden. He said individuated people, those who've integrated their shadow and found their true self, carry a specific responsibility. They see what needs healing in the collective. They feel what needs expression. They know what needs creation. But here's the paradox. The very sensitivity that allows you to feel this purpose also makes it almost impossible to fulfill. Because to do what you came here to do, you'd have to be fully yourself. And being fully yourself in this world feels like social suicide. Your purpose isn't comfortable. It's not about success by normal standards. It's about being a bridge between worlds. About saying what others can't say, healing what others don't even know is wounded. This is why nothing ever feels like enough. Why even your successes leave you empty. You're not here to succeed. You're here to transform. To wake something up. To midwife a new way of being. But you can't do that while you're hiding. And this is where most people get stuck. They feel the calling, but fear the cost. They sense their purpose, but shrink from its demands. They know they're meant for something more, but settle for something safe. The question is, will you? Because there's one final sign. One that determines whether you'll fulfill this cosmic assignment or spend your life wondering what could have been. The seventh and final sign is the most profound. Your greatest wound is your greatest gift. Jung discovered that rare personality types often carry what he called a sacred wound, a deep psychic injury that becomes the source of their power. Maybe you were the child who felt everything too deeply, the one who saw through family facades, the one who couldn't pretend everything was okay when it wasn't. That hypersensitivity that made you a target. It's the same sensitivity that allows you to perceive what others miss. That isolation you experienced. It forced you to develop an inner world rich enough to sustain you. That inability to fit in, it preserved your authenticity in a world that rewards conformity. Your wound taught you to see in the dark, and now you can guide others through their own darkness. This is the ultimate alchemical truth Jung uncovered. What breaks us open is what allows light to enter. What isolates us is what makes us unique. What wounds us is what awakens us. But here's what most people don't understand. Integration of this wound isn't about healing it away. It's about honoring it as your teacher, your initiator, your sacred marking that says, I survived what should have destroyed me, and now I'm dangerous to every lie. This wound gift makes you a natural healer, not because you're perfect, but because you're real. Not because you've transcended pain, but because you've alchemized it into wisdom. So here we are, at the moment of truth. You've recognized the signs, felt the relief of finally being understood. But recognition isn't transformation. You can know you're rare and still spend your life pretending to be common. Jung said it best. The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. For rare personality types, this isn't just privilege, it's responsibility. Because the world doesn't need another well-adjusted person. It needs you in all your complicated, intense, too much glory. The path forward isn't easy. People will resist the real you. Some will leave. The world will test your commitment to authenticity in 1,000 ways. But something else will happen too. The right people will find you. Work that only you can do will reveal itself. Your real life, the one waiting beneath all the masks, will finally begin. Your sensitivity isn't weakness, it's a superpower. Your intensity isn't too much, it's exactly what's needed. Your inability to fit in isn't a flaw, it's your contribution. The question is, are you ready to own it? If you've made it this far, you're not here by accident. Videos like this don't find people randomly. They find people who are ready. Ready to stop hiding. Ready to start living as who they really are. This is your invitation to join a tribe of rare souls who refuse to dim their light. Who choose depth over surface, truth over comfort, authenticity over approval. Subscribe to this channel right now. Not tomorrow, not later. Now, because this journey of understanding your rare nature, it's just beginning. Every week, we go deeper into the mysteries Jung uncovered, the patterns that shape us, the truth that sets us free. Hit that notification bell too, because when you're this rare, you need consistent reminders that you're not alone, not crazy, not too much. You need a community that speaks your language. Drop a comment below. Just 3 words. I am rare. Let it be your declaration, your first step into visibility. Watch how many others respond. Your tribe is bigger than you think. And share this video. Not with everyone, they won't understand. Share it with that one person who you know is struggling with their intensity, who thinks they're broken because they can't do shallow, who needs to hear that their difference is their gift. Because in a world addicted to facades, your authenticity isn't just personal liberation. It's medicine for a dying world. And we need you to be exactly who you are. Welcome to your real life. Welcome to your frequency. Welcome home. Remember, you weren't born to fit in. You were born to stand out. And now you know why. See you in the depths.